Morning, y'all. I am working on a leather bag. I have an elk hide here. I've had it sitting around for quite a while, and I've been wanting to make something out of it for some time now. And so it's a really nice hide. I've got a big piece of it here. Yet I've made a few things out of it, but not a lot. So still got a lot of working space on it. I'm gonna make this really cool little purse with some hides. I have some hides as well that I'm going to attach to them. Really beautiful. This is kind of like a smaller version of it. This is like cigar pouch at this point, but put my cigars in here when I have them. So anyway, I didn't like the way this. Well, the thread on this one was not. It's the only thread I had left, and I mean it's durable. It looks kind of rough, but it's real durable stuff. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm just gonna punch a few quick holes and thread a little bit here, but I wanted to share thoughts. So yesterday was my son's birthday, and I didn't get to see him. Right, you guys all know my story. Divorced dad, had to go through a custody debacle, which was awful. God, it's been 5 years ago now, I think, and it's still really tough to put it down. It's like it still feels like it was just yesterday. That stuff changes you. It really does, and especially when you didn't see it coming. And that's why I say a lot. It's like you kind of get used to the idea of divorce. Like, oh, okay, look, things weren't working, and neither of us handled that well. I think, I can't speak for my ex, but I'll speak for myself. And you don't know how to handle that kind of stuff, and at least I certainly didn't. And the wife files as they usually do. And then, and so you can kind of get that. Excuse me, a little noise, a little loud. You kind of get that. You're like, oh, okay, that wasn't gonna change or be fixed. It was untenable at some point. And I've had more than a few people come to me and talk about their divorces, or they want to go through a divorce, since I'm so vocal about mine. I said, look, you might love being divorced. I don't know. But I don't think it fixes anything. I really don't. And I think, if anything, it's just a bit of a cop out. But you get it. You can get the kind of divorce. Okay, she didn't want to be married anymore. Okay. But it's the custody battle that kills you. It's the custody battle that kills you. And if you've never been through one, you can never kind of know what that's like or what it does to you. And then the aftermath, I mean, shit, I have the rest of my life to live out the aftermath on that. And, it's been exceedingly difficult, let's say. But I've found that listening to, you can't, the thing is once you go through it, now I was a product of divorce growing up. My parents divorced when I was pretty young. They didn't have contact with each other for many, many, many years. They still don't. And you kind of get used to it, but you never think that that's going to be your story. You know what I mean? You think you want different for your life than that. And I've noticed something, actually, now that I'm talking about it, it's like married guys don't try to give me advice. People don't come and try to talk to me about parenting or anything like that because most single parents are single mothers. And I don't listen to single mothers on their parenting advice. I hear their stories, but I don't really listen to their advice. You know, their journey of being a single parent is completely different than my own, right? But I had a run in with a guy last night at the gym. He's my age, but he had a child, you know, when he was younger. I was pretty old when I had my son. I was 36. And he says his daughter is just about an adult now. I've still got quite a ways to go. And what I'm getting at is not being able to see my son on his birthday. Okay. That's what I'm coming back around to. It is very helpful, and I take real consideration when other dads who are good dads talk to me about their single parenting situation. So this man tell me that during his kid's upbringing, he moved states 4 times to follow his daughter around and continue to see her and to raise her to adulthood. And he's almost done now. And that's why he's moved back to Colorado. His daughter's here now, going to school, I believe. And he, you know what, that might work. He has moved around. Actually, he has moved around to follow his daughter to raise his kid. He's not remarried. He doesn't date. He says he hasn't dated in 10 years. He's just trying to get his kid to adulthood and get through child support. And then, you know, he can still stick around and be a dad, but his obligations to his kid are over. So this man has completely changed his life around a daughter that he has half time with. And I was telling him, I was like, man, I was really bummed out because I didn't get to see my son on his birthday. And he's like, oh man, that doesn't matter. They understand. I'm going to try this shorter piece I have instead of cutting off a fresh piece. He says they understand. It's not about spending the birthday with them on the day. It's about spending the time with them when you have them and making them feel important. And I tell you what, when he told me that, and I know because he's a guy who's been a single dad his whole life, or her whole life, the daughter's whole life, and he's done everything in his power to raise his child, it's very helpful for someone like myself who I still feel new as a single father. I've been a single father longer than I was a married father. But, and I mean, I figure I've earned my stripes in terms of single parenting. But anyway, it was nice to hear from a man who's further down the road than I am and loves his child and has kept his child the full focus of his life. And he's still in the gym. He's still exercising. He still looks good. He hasn't given up on life. And he's in there talking about the joys of being a father and how he spent birthdays with his daughter. And most of the time, it wasn't on her birthday. It was on a day that he had his child. And I tell you what, man, these single fathers are so gracious. They're so gracious. They all know. They've all been put through it. They all had to stand up to divorce court mafia and got their ass kicked and had an ex that just hated them for who knows what reason. And so it's very helpful, is what I'm saying. It's very helpful. And so, you know, there's nobody on the internet necessarily. I mean, even though I post these little videos, I mean, yeah, we take some stock in people on social media, of course, but you know, most of that should come from people that you gain real world, battle tested, earn their stars and stripes, as it were, in the battlefield. I'm surrounded by married people. I surround myself on purpose with married people who have good marriages, good relationships, they're good parents. Okay? I choose to do that because it helps me be a better father. Does it make sense? And my son gets to see something resembling marriage uh, portrayed. Um, and I actually think the tables are turning. I actually think things are slowly starting to turn around. People are realizing the um, absolute cesspool disaster that being single is, and the absolute cesspool disaster of what marriage has become. It's become a total laughing stock. It's a non-thing anymore. And so I think people are starting to recognize that and realizing this isn't what I want for my life. I want something better, right? So I think things are changing. That's good. But in my situation, the only people I can really hear are other people who've been through it. These guys that I hang out with that are all married and things like that. They're good fathers, and I watch them as their example. They're a good example of good fathers, and I love that, and I surround myself with that, and I want to be around people who are good fathers and not shitty ones. Um, and they don't really try to give me marriage advice either, just because I don't see myself doing that again. That's probably not going to be a thing. But when it comes to just the hard stuff about divorced dads and father's rights and stuff like that, you have to go to the source, man. You have to go to other guys who've been through it, who've stood the test of time, survived the divorce court seething, you know, infinitely wicked divorce court process. They've survived it. They lived to tell the tale. They didn't self delete. They didn't go drown themselves in a bottle. They didn't completely give up. You know what I mean? Like those guys aren't out there offering advice anyway. You know what I mean? They've given up on life. They've totally taken the doomer black pill, and they don't have anything that they want to offer. I'm not to say they couldn't offer, but they just don't want to. They've completely given up. And I fully understand it because I have stared down that myself in terms of just like complete nihilism after divorce. But we're not listening to those guys. It's it's too dark, man. It's too dark. And I've definitely spent those dark times in my head after divorce just being completely nihilistic. I really have. And and in some ways I'm still not good at handling it and how everything shook out and how I don't get to see my kid on his birthday, stuff like that. You know, I'm still not great at it in some regards, but in a lot of ways, I've come a long way. So anyway, it was a very real breath of fresh air to talk with this guy at the gym, my age, still fit, hasn't given up on himself, hasn't given up on life. He doesn't date, he won't remarry, but he's a very pleasant man with a very pleasant demeanor. You can tell he's stood the test of time. He's battle tested, if that makes sense. And he just had the best words of wisdom to give to me on a day where I was really upset and bummed out that I don't get to see my son on his birthday. And again, with the advice of, that doesn't matter. They'll understand it. They do understand it. Just make it special for them when they're with you versus on that day. And this comes from a man who spent many years not with his kid on birthdays, holidays, things like that. Just making it special with your kid when you have them. And boy, that's what I needed to hear, right when I needed to hear it. And so I salute the dads that stay, the dads that go again, the dads that try again. Man, there's just some areas in my life right now, too, that I'm just like, God, I can't see the end of it. I don't, and some of that is my fault. I acknowledge that. And some things just aren't under your control. Nevertheless, single dads, take good advice from battle-tested, healthy single dads. Um, they're still good fathers. They're still family men. They're still men of faith in spite of all the hardship. They're still men of action. They're still men of compassion. They're good men. In fact, I've told that to a few ladies that complained about, I can't find a good man. You need to go find a single father. You need to go find a single father that is involved in his kid's life, because he's tested. He's tested. He's battle tested, and he could have run, but he didn't. Those are the kind of guys, ladies, you want to be looking for. Is those battle tested single fathers that have survived the tale of divorce. It's pretty incredible. Anyway, just a rant for this morning as I'm working on this bag. I've been doing a live almost every night, just as I'm doing my cutting and my stitching, just to see who's out here, who's online, who's talking. It's been kind of fun. So if you ever see me pop up there on a live, I'm doing this until Christmas. Really, I'll be working on this and hopefully one or two others for a Christmas present. So stick around if you'd like. Anyway, that's my rant for this morning. Hope everybody has a good day.